Oh, yes, everybody. This is the Flex Network joining you live for our Week 8 Start Sit questions. Soon, Byron Lambert from Roster Watch, follow them at Roster Watch, will be joining us here soon. They are wrapping up their Sirius XM Week 8 All Business Edition of their show on Sirius XM. James D, what's going on, brother? Good morning. A lot of questions to get through this morning. Joined as always, Jennifer. Hello. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm here so I just don't get fined here with my Marshawn Lynch-esque Super Bowl appearance. Ewalps, B, Ollie. Good morning. Let's flex out with one at Alan Seslowski. Follow him at ALANSES Low Sky. Go ahead, says what now?
I thought I was sitting here with the who was that the one they made the movie about the guy, the killer. You look like the not the Central Park killer. What was the guy's name? The Zodiac killer. The Zodiac killer. I mean, that's who you,
killer.
Yeah, if you Google the Zodiac killer, man, from the 1970s, you look like the Zodiac serial killer right now with your hood and your glasses. I mean, I'm a little frightened. It is Halloween, though. It is Halloween.
It is Halloween. Let's get this rolling, guys. Get your questions in. Byron Lambert joining us soon, but we talked a little bit about it before we hopped on, says, but we're getting questions about whether or not to start Julio Jones. And can you please give our listeners a little taste of why in the world would we never sit Julio Jones, ever?
Yeah, if your start-sit question is, would you start Julio Jones, the answer is yes. Now, I understand that he hasn't performed up to your first-round pedigree, but a lot of those guys haven't. Julio is the type of receiver, you just leave him in there the entire year. You're going to get your spiked weeks. Now, Mohamed Sanu was traded this week to the New England Patriots. I know Matt Ryan's out. Matt Schaub is experienced enough to get him the ball. I mean, there's no way that Julio is not getting at least 12 targets, and I would say he's 20 targets is in play today. I think they're going to force feed him the ball. There's no way you sit Julio Jones. Julio Jones is one of the most volatile first-round receivers. He gives you 40 fantasy point weeks. He gives you single-digit fantasy point weeks. Do not sit Julio Jones in any circumstance. It would have to be the shallowest of leagues, or you would have I can't imagine a scenario. Feel free to ask the question, but be prepared for Julio Jones to always be the answer. I'm not even sure why we're getting that question a lot, but it's reasonable. Sure,
it's reasonable. B. Ollie here in a half-point PPR. We got Fitz or Ridley, which is a great question, because now that Mohamed Sanu is gone, it definitely bodes well for an uptick for Calvin Ridley here. You got Fitz has not really done incredibly well for you in the last couple games here. Had some good matchups, but today just a terrible matchup against New Orleans here. Says half-point PPR, Calvin Ridley or Larry Fitzgerald.
Calvin Ridley's in a really good spot. He has now been promoted, air quotes, to the second receiver. I know Matt Schaub is there, so there is some unknown risk here. Fitz is certainly the floor play. Ridley's the upside play. I think we might see a return to Ridley last year, who was just a touchdown scorer. And by the way, I want to put a retraction in. You don't look like the Zodiac Killer. You look like the Unabomber. That's who you look like.
That's what I was thinking, not the Zodiac Killer. I was thinking the Zodiac. It's Halloween. It's Halloween. We're getting real scary here, says. But I'm scared of Fitzgerald today, says. I really am.
He gets his every week. What's to be? You're just saying that in a half PPR, Larry Fitzgerald always has a reasonable chance for a touchdown. Is there a Vegas prop on him on the roster watch sheet? I'm gonna go check that out.
Talk a second. I'm looking this up. Go ahead. I'll tell you exactly why I'm a little bit scared here. New Orleans #1 lockdown corner will likely be shadowing Larry Fitzgerald all over the field today. To me, just takes the guy out of the game. I don't see a prop based off Vegas player props based off DK value on rosterwatch.com's DFS flex values.
Yeah,
tools, but I'm a little scared of him this week, especially in half-point PPR.
yeah, I understand that. Larry Fitzgerald, he's more operates like a tight end than he does a receiver. In a half PPR, he's going to get a handful of catches, but your logic is definitely reasonable. And we're deciding between Fitzgerald and it was Ridley, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would play Ridley. I think that's the answer, the upside play there. But there is some unknown with a backup QB. Matt Ryan is not playing today. It's old man Schaub.
It's old man Schaub. It's the Schaubin show. Let's flex out and go Ridley there.
Yeah.
B. Ollie. Good morning, guys. Christopher Mons. Good morning. We're gonna get to the questions here. We're kind of waiting for Byron to hop on in here. Jennifer got massacred last week with all her boys on bye. I'm ready to start winning again, and so are we. Christian McCaffrey. Go ahead.
Yeah, don't you think that's like, I think it's okay to get massacred and have all your guys on a bye, because I'd rather just rip the Band-Aid off. And one of the worst tortures you can have in fantasy football is when all your key players, your 4 or 5 key players, are on buys in over the course of 2 or 3 weeks. Let's just get through that 1 week. If we have to take a loss, that's cool. Now we have our team back. It really is painful. I've gone through these years where I have one guy out 1 week and then it just staggers and you just never have your full team. So I don't think that's a bad thing. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, especially if we're talking about it in week 7. If it was week 12 and I've had all my guys on a bye and it's coming down to the wire where I need to make sure that I'm getting these wins. I was looking at it as a blessing in disguise. I did pick up probably half of my teams last week. I picked up a win, and I had, Christian McCaffrey out. I had Chris Godwin out. I've got the bulk of my team sitting on the bench. Curtis Samuel, of course, to which we have a bet with Roster Watch that Curtis Samuel will equally perform to DJ Moore on the season this year. Big, nice bet. So we had a bulk of my team out, still was able to pull out a couple wins. But yeah, I'm way happier to deal with my guys being on bye in week 7, where we can dominate the rest of the year now based on weekly. Just throw these guys in. A lot of these guys you can cut bait on. A lot of your waiver wire guys you can cut bait on now. You're just going to be sitting Christian McCaffrey, Chris Godwin, Curtis Samuel in your starting lineups almost every week. Ewalps here. Good morning, Ewalps. One of the most maniacal Nation members, Ewalps here. Woods or John Brown? Was going to roll out Brown, but the weather has me second guessing. Says, yes, the weather apparently quite atrocious in Buffalo.
Who do you like in that game? Buffalo's favored by 2 points home against the Eagles, but I kind of like the Eagles to win that game outright. Do you think that, that is basically where we have to frame the conversation in order to pick out which fantasy players we like? Do you see a situation, Buffalo feels like a fake good team to me. Do you agree, or do you think they're legit? Okay.
Actually, two of the best teams in the league right now are fake good teams.
San Francisco.
Okay? San Francisco.
Yeah.
San Francisco and Buffalo, fake good teams right now.
Which one of those teams do you believe in more? Which one do you think is a little bit more legit?
Well, San Francisco, mainly because their defense is top of the league. They also play ideally in the toughest division, in my opinion, in the whole entire NFL here. But I do believe more in that team, just because defense in my eyes wins games. Not that Buffalo's defense isn't good, but they're not top of the league good.
Do you want to knock out some of these start sits and then we can kind of circle back with them to get a second
I
opinion?
would like to, but I'm waiting for Byron to hop on. Okay, I'm waiting. I want to get Byron in. These guys come to see the golden money maker of Byron's face.
I see a couple Army guys from the Slack in here. That's why I've been.
Okay, you shout. Hold on, Woods or John Brown says
PPR. Woods.
Yeah, I like Woods. Especially like I said with the weather here. Name me the guys from the flex chat here. Who do we got here?
My suggestion is if we just knock through all these, we could circle back and get a second or third opinion. A lot of these guys are just looking for a quick answer so they can put in their lineup.
D here. James D, thank you so much for joining us. Would you start Baby Chark or Marvin Jones this week, says.
Is there any situation where, I mean, this is a great question because Shark coming off the bad week and Marvin Jones coming off like the all-time week. So, I mean, I still believe in Shark. I mean, Marvin Jones, that's an outlier performance right there. I mean, he caught 4 touchdowns, dropped the 5th. We talked about that on Friday. I would have a hard time benching Shark, but I certainly understand if you want to chase that amazing game Marvin Jones had. What do you think?
Well, this is a great question to ask because both Baby Chark and Marvin Jones have a very similar player prop based off NFL DFS flex values on rosterwatch.com. Please join rosterwatch.com. Get one of the cheapest memberships in the history of fantasy football. They have tons of tools and targets to use. So I'm going to go to the matchup tool.
Yeah.
Says
Shark has the Vegas prop of 4 catches for 65 yards, and he's a plus 120 slight underdog to score. So and then he was asking against Marvin Jones, correct?
Yeah, well, and Marvin Jones going up against the New York Giants.
Right.
Both him and Kenny Golladay have a very similar Vegas player prop. So you're looking at a 1A and 1B situation there in Detroit, at least this week. With the better matchup, I like to go, I'm going to say we're going to go Marvin Jones over that.
Yeah, so we're split on that. That's fine. And again, I wouldn't make a hard argument against you. So that makes sense.
And that's why having a pro membership at rosterwatch.com is a useful tool. You can go right to the matchup tool and decide for yourself and see if there's consistency amongst tools here. Not only for me, the main thing for me to say Marvin Jones is the over-under. It's a 9.5 point more, favored over-under in the game against New York. To me, that's just one more touchdown of opportunity to be had in that game based off Vegas. We're split over that, but I love Baby Chark, obviously. Baby Chark, throw him in the flex this week over Marvin Jones. Screw it. Let's do it. All flex spot, Kirk or Henry. Now, which Henry are we speaking about?
Let's assume Derrick Henry for our purposes. If it's Hunter Henry, I think it's automatic. You don't even... Right? I mean,
I want to say not Kirk here.
Right.
I mean, he's game time decision. We don't even know if he's going to play.
Yeah, both Henrys, both Hunter Henry and Derrick Henry, I'd play over Christian Kirk.
Now, I would second that. Yes. Now, we got this one down here. D. Blanchard, 81. Trubisky or more. What a sloppy question.
Yeah.
I love the question. Go ahead.
A lot of people are in this situation, man. Like quarterback has just been a complete minefield this year. There's guys on bye. It's tough. I mean, Matt Moore is certainly in play. He's got the Kansas City offense. He's a competent quarterback. Trubisky has just been one of the worst fantasy football quarterback picks this season. Who knows if he's even going to make it out of next year without them drafting a new QB. He got all his points in garbage time, which is fine, but it's one of those games you can't even watch. Do you trust the incumbent starter who they're invested in, Trubisky, or do you trust Andy Reid, the coach, in that system? That's really what it comes down to.
As much as I trust Andy Reid, says I would have to play Trubisky here. Yeah. Green Bay's defense and on a highlight game. I believe that's a Monday night game, I think, or
no, Monday
who is it? Is it Sunday night?
No, the Monday night is the Miami Dolphins and Steelers.
Oh,
but Chicago, it's a bad one. Chicago is at home, I believe, against the Chargers. I'm just going off the top of my head here.
Chargers.
Right, and Kansas City is playing. You said Green Bay, right? And Kansas City's home. Both teams are home, so yeah, I'm probably going to go Trubisky. Like his back's against the wall. There's been a lot of national criticism against him. I think they're going to make it a point to get him going this week. A lot of short passes, dump offs to Tariq Cohen, who for some reason they've forgotten about. They're going to run the ball a little bit more as well, but that could open up the pass. I'd go Trubisky, but I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, you really feel terrible about that selection, but that's why you are here, and that's why we are going to win Week 8. Stephen Me, PPR Flex. Royce Freeman, Baby Chark, or Jamal Williams, or Corey Davis. Now, Baby Chark, we just says I would think he's the favorite here, but Corey Davis in a small resurgence here says, is there a slight chance that you're playing Corey Davis over Baby Chark this week?
Yeah, on our Friday night Flex Finder pod, which you could check out every Friday at 9:30 p.m. on the Flex Network podcast. Just subscribe to that. You'll get a notification. Yeah, East Coast. Everything's always East Coast. And then as far as that. But Corey Davis is one of our favorite plays this week. We love Corey Davis. We think he's back in play with an amazing – we think Tannehill's a good QB. We just think that he got he has a non-optimal situation in Miami. That said – Corey Davis, we might need a show-me game from him before we just cavalierly play him ahead of someone like Chark, who we know is the number one receiver. So, good question. I still think we don't throw out everything that we've seen so far, the 6-7 weeks of data. We got to go Chark.
We have to go Baby Chark for that one. Thank you for the question, Stephen Mead. David Wessel here needs two. Coleman, Edelman, or Galladay. Half-point PPR. He's starting Nick Chubb, Murray, D-Hop. Team name is Minshew on these nuts. 2-5. Yes, that is great. Team name and record, please, because that is fantastic. Minshew on these nuts. 2-5. Needs two. Coleman, Edelman, or Galladay. Half-point PPR.
Yeah, normally I don't like the team names that have like the player names in them unless they're like, they're all sort of like generic BS that you kind of grab off the internet and they're not creative. But this one is really good. I gotta say, this one is really good. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like the 2 girly 1 cup, like that every
hey, that's a good one too. Come on.
But it's 50,000 people have it. The show me your TDs.
Well, it's fun. It's
fun, but unoriginal. I like the original names, and this one it gets the home run. So let's give him some thought since he put thought into his team name. All right, so we're choosing between Tevin Coleman, Julian Edelman, and your favorite Jolly Day, right?
Yeah, I'm a big Tevin Coleman guy as well. He is based off Byron Lambert's trade cast this week. 1.5 hours of maniacal analyzing of trades and trade theory. Big news on Tevin Coleman, top 5 in targets in the red zone on the year. He's got good opportunity. He's slipping himself into the number 1 RB on that team, a team that I am not exactly convinced that Jimmy Garoppolo is a good QB. So if they're relying on their tight ends and their running backs, then Tevin Coleman's got to have some good value here. If you need to, is Tevin Coleman locked in dead fast as one of these two on the week says?
Yeah, I think that the half PPR hurts Julian Edelman the most out of all of these options. And Tevin Coleman, it was kind of like a 50-50 split. Matt Breida went out with a concussion again last week. I think he's fine. He's playing, but, he's never a sure bet to make it. Matt Breida, that is, to make it through the whole game. So I think Tevin Coleman is firmly supplanted as the number 1 option in the backfield there. So I think you play him. And again, Galladay is set up in a really good spot. We agree he's a great receiver. Stafford's hot right now. It's not that we don't like Julian Edelman, but the half PPR really does hurt him.
Well, and Mohamed Sanu coming back. I mean, we have to think that he's going to bite into a little bit of what Edelman's going to do there. Let's go Coleman or Galladay. Galladay with the down week last week, like you said, but I think
he needs 2. You can play both.
Yeah, we're going to do both. That's exactly the play there. Minshew on D's nuts. Thank you. Ewalps. Team name is no name. 6-1, of course. Ewalps 6-1, flexing on everybody in the league. RB and a flex needed from Ron Jones. Latavius is a start this week, no matter what. Cortland Sutton. So basically, Ron Jones or Cortland Sutton. He's thinking about sitting Jones right now.
I'm gonna pile on a little bit on Ewalps. I'm about to give it to you good here, so don't get offended. Actually, you know what? Get offended. This is why you're 6-1 Ewalps, because you're playing in leagues where you've stacked all this talent. Either you're playing in a league of the blind, or you are just that good and dominating. So I'm gonna give you a backhanded compliment and say, nice job stacking that team. Oh, look who walked in the door. Hey, what's up, Byron? How you doing?
Byron.
And
Well, how are you guys? Let's fire
Good.
through here.
cool. Give Byron that question, the one that I was about to smack this guy around verbally for.
So Ewalps, our buddy here, is 6-1, needs an RB and a flex. Aaron Jones, Latavius Murray, or Cortland Sutton. We were thinking for sure Latavius, throw him in here, but we were deciding between Aaron Jones and Cortland Sutton here, Byron.
Jeez, man. I think, don't you probably have to start Aaron Jones there, I think. Favorites. Let's see. What's the matchup on that? I know it's Kansas City. What's the matchup tool say?
Kansas City says that it is the fourth best matchup for opposing running backs going into Kansas City. So,
yeah, I think you got to roll with. Boy, sure, it's hard to. Is this a PPR? Sure, it's hard to bench Cortland Sutton, man, in a come from behind effort.
Matt, I'm going to back out of the stream so you can put Byron on top. He's the guest of honor, okay?
Just go right ahead, brother.
Pop me in.
So what are you thinking here, Byron?
I think you just probably roll out the two running backs, man. I mean, I think you roll out the two running backs. That's a tough one, but just divest yourself of Joe Flacco on the road in this situation.
Yes. All right, Ewalps, there it is. Andy S. Good morning, Flex Network. Do we like Lat Murray over Derrick Henry today? That's a big one. Lat Murray over Derrick Henry. Is that a yes?
Yes, we do.
Okay, yes, we do.
Wait,
Andy S.
You just said you like Lat Murray less, isn't he? He's
over Derrick Henry.
Okay, good. Yeah, he's an all-in DFS play, right?
Coming in here doing all this complaining, Alan.
Yeah, that's what I do, man. That's what I do. I just want to. So, are you in on Lat Murray's an all-in DFS play? Like, should I be going to all my lineups and just putting him in there with Drew Brees back?
Let me see something really quick. What's his pricing? I don't have it in front of me right now. I think he's a solid play. I don't know if he's all in, but if you want to put Latavius Murray in and he's reasonably priced, that's
the reason I ask is because I know. Play. Yeah, I mean, I know that you guys don't love him from the beginning, but he is in a pretty good situation.
I mean, in a one-spot situation, he's a fine play. He's a guy I just can't get behind, like, on a season as a workhorse running back in the NFL. But in a one-game situation or a 2 or 3 game situation on a good team and a good matchup, Arizona is actually not an excellent matchup against fantasy running backs. It's just a good spot. Neither was Chicago last week, and Latavius blew it up. That Saints team, man, you think of a lot of flash and a lot of pop and a sizzle, but they really can dominate on both lines of scrimmage.
Now, I'm getting a lot of questions this week about Drew Brees, Byron. Are we confidently sitting Drew Brees if we have a
no, I'm not sitting Drew Brees. I'm playing him over – I'm probably playing him over Jared Goff in that London broil, and it's a very tough decision for me between Matt Stafford and Drew Brees, and then I just think to myself, if I owned both of those players – I think I would probably start Drew Brees. Whether that's rational or not, I'm not sure. Maybe if you can totally be cold and emotionless and detach yourself from anything like that, making that decision, you could go with Stafford. To me, you're talking a top 5 to 8, definitely a top 5 to 10 quarterback play on the week, and Drew Brees.
Yes, well, that's a great call, Byron. Starting Drew Brees this week. Andrew Koisiel, I probably mispronounced my I in there. Andrew K. Tyrell Williams, David Montgomery, or Mike Williams need to start 2 suggestions, Byron.
Probably Mike Williams and Tyrell Williams.
Yes.
Especially if this is any kind of PPR format. No, there's speculation. It could be a strange bounce back for Montgomery, but there's really not a whole lot of evidence other than some Matt Nagy lip service to suggest that's going to happen. It was 12 targets for Tariq Cohen last week. I mean, I don't like Montgomery if you have to play him. If you have to, he's like a low end flex. Like I said on the SiriusXM show, maybe he's kind of like feels kind of like starting Melvin Gordon in that same matchup. A little bit like you're running your head up against the wall, but something could break. They could get volume. I feel better with guys like Mike Williams and Ty Williams playing in a come from behind effort with, pretty much gunslinger type quarterbacks.
The Chicago Bears and Matt Nagy caught a lot of national criticism this week about not getting the running game going. And as much as we'd like to think, oh, that doesn't matter what the media says, there was a lot of pressure that hadn't been there before. I have a sneaky suspicion that he's going to feel pressure to get the running game going. But I tend to agree with everything you said there. It's just something.
Well, they'll probably come out of the gate scripted with a bunch of running plays, and then we'll see what happens, right? Hopefully they can get the lead, and then they're hoping to get the lead at home on these Chargers and be able to run away. I could see that. I mean, that's a rational analysis, but David Montgomery has not been good in recent weeks. It's not been a very playable option, and maybe in standard or half point. I just think if you're in full point PPR, we have a big prop coming in on Mike Williams. Then Tyrell Williams, when he's played this year, has been pretty good, man.
Yeah, and you got to think he's presumably healthy at this point, or else they wouldn't bring him back. Yeah,
and again, he's a guy I don't like. Much like Latavius Murray, Tyrell Williams is a guy I can never get behind, really on the season, and is a real NFL prospect as any type of lead guy. But in fantasy, in this situation, and circumstantial plays, I can get behind him. So I am this time.
With Keenan Allen in a game-time decision, who should he have on standby? Christopher Mons, DJ Moore, Jamison Crowder, Corey Davis, Robbie Anderson, MVS, or A.J. Brown?
Probably Davis or Anderson.
Isn't it amazing that Corey Davis is like totally back in the sit-start the decisions again? And it's viable. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'd say Davis or Anderson. I personally, you guys know how interested I am in Anderson moving forward. I'm praying he doesn't get traded. I just can't believe that the Jets would give up on him for a day 2 pick. Just doesn't make a lot of sense. And we're actually hearing that come out this morning, that absent of something that kind of blows their doors off. I mean, what are they going to? They're going to ruin Darnold if they strip him of that guy. Going to run him out there with Jamison Crowder and Ryan Griffin and Le'Veon Bell. Come on.
What's the price that gets it done, you think? Like, what's the offer they can't refuse?
For a Robbie Anderson right now?
Yeah. What's the one where they have all right, we'll do it?
Compared to Mohamed Sanu and Emmanuel
David Montgomery or something like that. I don't know, one of those type guys, right? Yeah. If I need a receiver and I had plenty of running backs, I would have no problem doing that. We would call that an equivalency trade at rosterwatch.com. Now, so this is down to Davis and Anderson for me. Corey Davis does have a nice prop coming in from the sports book this week, so I'll let you guys split those two hairs.
I like Corey Davis mainly because Robbie Anderson there's turmoil right there right now. You just don't know. It's
a speculative play, and it's the number 2 matchup I think of the week isn't it? It's a great matchup for Tennessee wide receivers this week. Corey Davis, number 1 matchup of the week. So get Corey Davis in.
Get Corey Davis in. James D, awesome sauce. Kevin S. here, a recent pro member. Nick Chubb or Austin Eckler, getting a lot of Nick Chubb questions going up against the nasty, nasty Patriots defense. Byron, is Austin Eckler a full go over Nick Chubb this week for you if it was 1v1 here?
Well, definitely a little bit concerned about that matchup as you guys outlined, but I was really, really surprised to see Nick Chubb come in with a huge 102-yard prop off the sportsbook. Like that's got me a little bit confused on how to feel about Nick Chubb right now. In PPR, don't like that we only got 11, 12 touches last week for Austin Eckler. I think it was a 54% snap count. He had a big game on paper, like bottom line fantasy production. I thought Alex made a compelling case, though, today. If Keenan Allen's out in a matchup like this on the road, it could very easily spell quite a bit of target volume to a guy like Eckler. So I think in PPR, I'm playing Austin Eckler over Nick Chubb this week.
Yes. Flex.
That is a flex. I'll give him that, because we talked about on Friday was that the Patriots traditionally double team the best player. We thought maybe they can start guarding Odell Beckham, shifting coverage over that way and just kind of do bend but don't break with Nick Chubb, giving up a lot of yards but not a lot of scoring production. So we were, it's an interesting call.
Yeah, it's also interesting. Traditionally, the Patriots, what they've always done is they've taken their best corner and put him on the other team's wide receiver 2, and then they've double covered the wide receiver 1 on the other team. But it sure does seem like Stephon Gilmore changes that calculation quite a bit. I mean, you just roll him out on – you don't need to double cover Odell Beckham when you've got a Gilmore. I think you just roll those two guys out, and so yeah, it allows them to really focus on Nick Chubb, right? If you're able to just put one-on-one on Odell, you've got the extra safety, you got the extra linebackers, whatnot, to keep an eye on Nick Chubb. So yeah, I just feel like the safe play is Austin Eckler, and probably the upside is, I'd say, similar.
Now, right here, James D is a great question, but Byron, I'm going to preface this before we ask it here. On our Friday Night Flex Finder podcast, my deep flex play this week was Darrell Henderson on the Los Angeles Rams. With them going into a bye next week, I just feel like they could roll out Darrell Henderson a lot. So James D asks here, would you bench Gurley for Edmonds, or is Gurley similar to Julio in the sense that you just play him every week, smoke him if you got him? Byron, what do you think here?
That's a tough one. I'd probably tell you to go with the rankings on the side. I mean, it's a great matchup for Gurley, and they're big favorites. You got to think that he's going to get probably some early action. I'm with you, Matt. I mean, I love Darrell Henderson this week a whole lot. This is the number one matchup of the week for fantasy running backs for Todd Gurley. Man, that's a tough one. Let me see how far apart we have these guys in our rankings right now, as I know Edmonds definitely deserves a little bit of bump here post. We need to get him up on the site here last minute in the morning with the David Johnson news that came in this morning. So Chase Edmonds, I said I'd probably start him up with the, I'd have him in the Phillip Lindsay, Tevin Coleman side of things, probably right below Josh Jacobs. I know we just said to start Edmonds over Henry previously, and maybe that, I can't remember if that was a PPR format, so those would be really close. So that all of a sudden that brings Edmonds into focus as like a high-end RB2, number 14, 15, 13, 16 guy on the week. And Todd Gurley's just not going to fall out of our top 10. So there's just too much to go in these rankings to go that far off the reservation, man. I'm just going to play Todd Gurley.
Now, Byron, if you're Sean McVay, at what point are you pulling Gurley from that game? I mean, is it a 21-0 first quarter and he's out of here? Is it at what point is Gurley going to get pulled from that game with a bye week next week and them being, playing Cincinnati? How far ahead would you have to be to where Gurley's out of the game?
I mean, you could see him sitting the entire fourth quarter and maybe even part of the third quarter. I don't think that with only Henderson behind him, they're pulling him that early. But what they'll see is you'll just see his touches being limited. Once they get a lead, they'll be alternating evenly, right?
Gurley's like that rickety car though that has like that stalls at red lights. I mean, it goes fast. It's a sports car, but at any point it could just die on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like he has a lot of in-game injury risk, or I would say a lot, but an elevated in-game injury risk. So I agree with your call that he is the better play, but just know that could stall out on you at any time. Chase Edmonds looks like he is a real player ready to explode. I mean, I know, I agree with the ranking of him, but it just seems like their spot on the team, their workload's about to cross over a little bit.
Well, at some point you just have two good options, right? I mean, it's two good options. It's hard to go against hard to just break, even the industry rankings. There's so much baked into all that. And some of it is just like your hand has been forced. You'd like to rank another guy higher and you just really can't, and so you'd like to break those rankings. But I just think if you play it like this over the course of the year, you're going to win more than you lose, and it's going to add up. You're never going to get all of them right. You can't feel that bad about benching Chase Edmonds on the road at the Saints, who absolutely just held Tariq Cohen and David Montgomery to almost nothing, versus Todd Gurley, a big favorite in the number one matchup of the week. What are we going to do, man? We're going to make the best decision we can with the information we have at hand, and then let the chips fall where they may.
I love those debates, though.
That's what you can do. You can make the best decision with all the info at hand by joining at RosterWatch at rosterwatch.com for a pro membership. If you are a member, great. Thank you. If you're not a member, go get a membership. Just the least expensive fantasy content in the industry. We go all year round. And also go over to Apple Podcasts and listen to Byron talk for an hour and a half on the Tradecast, Trade Analyzer, getting in. What are the the three types of trades, the equivalency trade. Go ahead, Byron. This is your thing. Go ahead, please.
The number one trade, the top priority, is the consolidation trade. This is the most frequent trade that winning players are undertaking in fantasy, and this is how we are leveling up our roster every step of the way throughout the season in order to essentially have the best playoff team possible when we head in there down the stretch for that title run. And then, of course, there's the liquidation trade, is probably the second most common type of fantasy football trade, and that's where you've identified that you're struggling to fill out your starting roster every week. You're basically, what that means is every week you're rolling out one or two garbage guys or more, and that's really just killing your chances to win every week. At that point, you have no choice but to maybe liquidate one of your best players or a guy that you consider as a sell high, and to other players that add up to good value that you could start right away, that you could feel good about with good matchups on the horizon. And then the third type of trade is what I've branded as an equivalency trade. It's a 1-for-1 or a 2-for-2, and this is where you're either trying to balance your roster. Maybe you're deep at running back but thin at wide receiver. You're going to make a 1-for-1, a running back for a wide receiver to balance that out. Or in a 2-for-2, what you're doing from that perspective to balance is you're trying to actually balance out the trade at that point, because probably the two principals in the trade aren't of it exactly equal value, and you're having to throw in a second guy each to kind of reconcile the difference in the value of the principles.
That second trade, the liquidation trade, is probably the hardest one. You have to look at yourself in the mirror, because you're only going to get 90 cents when you break $1 open anyway, but sometimes it is necessary. I found that one, when you talked about it on the cast, to be the most interesting, because that's the toughest one to execute.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, it is true, but it's especially this point in the season, it depends on who you're breaking it down to and who you're selling to. I mean, we're going to start talking soon about how teams operating from a position of luxury can begin to start, quote unquote, overpaying for the top players in fantasy, even if they're not buy lows, in order to front load your roster. So, actually a lot of times I think if you take player A and player B and add up the value, it could be equal to or more than in a vacuum, the player that you traded away. The way that we offset that, though, is we always come back from behind. Usually we're adding a waiver guy with a lot of value that, ultimately, then if you do the math, you're coming out ahead. But you just got to make sure you're getting two starters, and you have to have identified that your problem is that you're rolling out one or two or more garbage players every week, and you have no choice because you're struggling to make a big move to win now. But you must be getting starters in return. And, more than likely, like I said in the podcast, you won't be receiving these offers. They won't make sense for you if you're the one receiving them. Once you've identified that you have this need, that you're going to want to go out and pursue these trades, and that's when they'll make sense.
Awesome.
Everybody follow Roster Watch at Roster Watch on Twitter, and go over to Apple Podcasts, rate and review. Go listen to the Tradecast. You'll love it. We're at the point of our show where we're going to rapid fire these off here, Byron. So let's get ready. Everybody, harken your last questions in, because it's going to take us some time. Kevin S. here, Seattle D or Indies D?
I get that question a lot today. That's funny.
Indy.
Indies D. Brandon Buxton, Buck Nasty 7-0. Should I jam Mike Williams in my lineup and kick out Golden Tate or Marvin Jones in PPR? Also, with the news, Byron, just coming out, Keenan Allen is supposed to give it a go. He will not. He will be suiting up on the field for the first play. So put that in your mind. Jam Mike Williams in the lineup, kick out Golden Tate or Marvin Jones.
I tell you, I think I'm sitting Keenan Allen with that news for sure if I own him. And, actually, to some extent, if he's a decoy, that might actually work in Mike Williams' favor.
I agree. That's smart. Good.
So we're gonna jam Mike Williams in. Byron, I think we lost your headphones. So sorry about that. Trying to.
I can hear you guys.
Okay. Yep. Well, we can. Can I hear you now, Byron?
I can hear him. Byron, you're good.
Oh.
Okay, you're good now. Brandon Cooks or Tyrell Williams?
Tyrell the Gazelle.
See, there you go. David Wessel says, thank you, brother. Have Medina, John Brown, or roll out Emmanuel Sanders, WR1 in San Francisco?
Well, thank you, guys. I want to likewise. It would have been John Brown all day but this weather situation has got me a little nervous. I'm not that anxious to play Emmanuel Sanders this week. I mean, what are you hoping for? A touchdown? Come on. I mean, realistically, you're hoping that they put him in some package in the red zone and he sneaks out a touchdown. It's like the most realistic situation. So I'm going to stick with John Brown here unless a few minutes before the game, this thing looks like an absolute monsoon.
Which team do you like to win that game in the rain, in the bad weather? Philly or Buffalo? It's only a 2-point spread, so it's kind of like a pick 'em in a sense.
Probably Buffalo.
Interesting. Good.
Byron, I just went and bought quarterback 1 from the Buffalo Bills in a Superflex Dynasty for a first-round pick and Deebo Samuel getting back a second-rounder next year. Do you believe in Josh Allen and all the hype, especially as we had said earlier before you got on, they're kind of one of the fake good NFL teams this year, but what do you think about Josh Allen in general? Would you rather have him or Jimmy Garoppolo moving forward?
Pretty sure you guys have been listening to my take on Josh Allen for several years now. I mean, my take on Josh Allen is that he's a good young quarterback prospect in the NFL. So do I believe he's a Super Bowl winner yet? I mean, we're far from that kind of discussion, but he's a good young quarterback prospect in the league, and I'll leave it at that. And
for fantasy,
especially for fantasy.
Yeah.
Especially for fantasy. He's better in fantasy than he is even in real life. So while I think the Bills have a nice young quarterback to build around and speculate on moving forward, he's shown plenty of good signs. I think in fantasy, you feel that good or better. So he's a fine guy to get in a dynasty superflex. I'd be stoked about that.
The last month and a half of the season, he was QB1 overall. I mean, the guy has already proven that he can be the fantasy.
Well, the funny thing is, him and Lamar Jackson are actually a little bit alike. It's a crazy thing to say. I mean, he's obviously not got that kind of speed. They're not going to make those types of design runs, but that's the kind of player you're talking about. Got some chops to get you some points on the ground every week. I think it's 32 yards rushing a game. I mean, he's right behind Kyler Murray in rushing yards per game. There, you probably have a Kyler Murray, type prospect maybe in terms of the way he's going to run around.
Yeah, we love Josh Allen at the Flex Network. Also, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, what other type of quarterback do you want rolling out in these real cold, sloppy weather games? A quarterback that's tough and young and eager, and Josh Allen. Yo Mama So Fat 1, would you start Tevin Coleman over Robert Woods and Mike Evans, non-PPR?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, nice.
I like
nice.
That.
I loved on the Tradecast, my favorite part of it was Tevin Coleman, top 5 in red zone targets on the year at RB. Tevin Coleman, a nice guy. I believe he was a buy this week, Byron. Was that correct? Just a buy, correct?
No, Tevin Coleman he's just like a keep or a sell really high for, like, if you can get him into a package from, a Zeke or a Saquon or somebody that's just in, bananas on a struggling team. But otherwise, he's a keep. He's gone 20 and 22 touches the last 2 weeks. He crept up to 66% snap count this last week. We'll want to see that lock in. But red zone opportunities per game, he's tied at top 5 with Todd Gurley, 4 per game.
Every team in a competitive league is hurting at running back. You're never too deep at running back. So it's like, what are you going to sell them for?
I mean, I'd say that, look, I've got Freeman and Coleman. I've been kind of trying to put those two together and ship them out to Barkley in my league to the struggling owner. I'd love to pull it off. It's the league where I got Fournette and McCaffrey, and I would just love to roll those 3 guys out every week. But, it's not going to happen. Even the losing team just done. I don't think he wants to let me get away with that one. You know what I mean? And but I think to myself, it's hard to do, but you'd love the roster spot, but if you play Coleman and Freeman right the rest of the way, there's a good chance it'll be just about as good as Barkley.
Yeah.
So Tevin Coleman, the answer there. Chuck Olson, good morning. Papa Hoops in the house, 5-2. What's up with Christian Kirk, Byron? Kirk, Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, or Rojo for the flex position? Boyd with a really nice prop this
Tyler
week. Tyler Boyd. Okay, team name. The Mush is real. 4-3. Which Williams does he flex? Mike or Tyrell?
Why don't we go with the top flex play of all of fantasy per the sportsbook? That's why we make the tool. Let's go with Mike Williams.
Mike Williams, B. Ollie, should I lose waiver priority and drop Rivers for someone like Gardner Minshew, Tannehill, Schaub, or Carr?
Oh gosh. Okay, let's see here. Should I just Rivers for Minshew? I mean, you need to play. If this is a starter, you need to play the matchup this week, and who cares? I mean, all of those guys are waiver wire quarterbacks.
Right, but keep in mind that if he has that waiver priority, you have to invest that, and then you go to the back of the line. It's one of those.
Yeah, so fair enough. If it's a close call, then keep your waiver priority. If you look at the matchups and say, or look at our rankings and you say, man, I think Minshew or Tannehill or Carr or whoever it is a mile better than Phillip Rivers this week, then I have no problem. If you got to win this week, I have no problem burning the waiver priority. But to Alan's point, if it's all things are close, that's a great way to split the hairs.
Do you play in any leagues like that anymore?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I mean, you need to look at, and you got, I mean, I love the leagues where I bid for free agents too. You got to look at the upcoming schedules as the other tiebreaker there. If you're not sure and you're playing those guys kind of at quarterback, I might say, okay, if I like them all even, the other thing I'm going to look at is who's got the best matchups coming up the next few weeks, just so I have somebody, I can play on my team the next few weeks.
Here we go. Scott Kemet, we are a nation. We are a fan nation. Yes, we are. Ewalb says, thank you, guys. He says he had a good draft. He's been having great trades and waiver wire work, all courtesy of Roster Watch over there. Follow them at Roster Watch and rosterwatch.com. Get a pro membership, cheaper than a cheap fair trade cup of coffee. Jennifer Sains here, half-point PPR. She's starting Tannehill because Matt Ryan's out. Also started Catch TMC. She's got Juju, Derrick Henry, C-Mac, Evan Ingram. On flex, she has Mike Evans. On bench, Robert Woods, Edmonds, or Fitz. Would you make any changes to get in somebody like a Robert Woods, Chase Edmonds, or a Larry Fitzgerald?
Well, I'd put Edmonds in my flex, and so then that means we need to decide between Mike Evans and Juju. I'm Mike Evans and Juju, so we need to go to the rankings for that. Do you guys have that up?
I don't have the rankings up. I do have the matchup tool up.
So let's see what the props came in at. There is no prop on.
I have the props up.
Do you?
Yeah, I have the props up. That's
no prop on Juju Smith-Schuster. So I'm just going to go to our rankings on this one.
Mike Evans is 5 for 79, and he's even money to score.
Okay, and
Pittsburgh going against Miami.
Yeah, man, I'm getting in Mike Evans. I'm getting in Mike Evans over Juju, and then I'm sliding Edmonds into my flex, and then who's that leave you? Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey. Those are your running backs. It leaves Fitzgerald on your bench, and I don't really see Robert Woods. You can't put him in over Edmonds, and it looks like you're starting only 2 receivers here. So the only if somehow you could start 3 receivers in addition to the flex, it would come down to Juju versus Woods, but I'm not seeing that here.
Byron, I'm sure everyone has their favorite part of rosterwatch.com, but my favorite tool is this Vegas tool, and I don't know if you get much feedback on that, but to me, this is the cheat code to unlocking start-sit questions. Even when you do is you check rankings all over different sources, and then when you come back, I just love that Vegas props tool that you put up there. It's so useful.
I think it's a great final tiebreaker at the end of the week once your mind is kind of swamped with all the different information that you've taken in, and you've split all the hairs every which way, and you still have these really tough decisions to make. I mean, there's so much intelligence built into those props, the data, just kind of like the just from the public and from the sports books into those numbers. So it's a great check at the end of the week. And again, you're not going to win every time on those, but if you go through that process every week, it's going to help you win a lot more than you lose, and it'll add up over the course of the season. As I said on the show, I mean, for me, the number one decision I rely on the Vegas props tool every week at Roster Watch for is my tight end decision. I mean, that to me has been the spot where it's been the most predictive over the years, is those top couple of tight ends almost every week on the sheet turn out to be good plays.
John Ryan says, what's up, guys? 2 questions, Baby Chark or Mike Williams, or Josh Allen or Jacoby Brissett?
Well, we moved Allen under Brissett in our rankings on the show today, so we'll go with Brissett there. And then Chark or Mike Williams, it's a good one. You guys, what do you guys think? Mike Williams there?
I think that DJ Shark is the unquestioned number one receiver. Mike Williams is part of a passing game.
I agree. Yeah, I like that. Let's go with DJ Chark.
Baby Chark right here.
Receivers on the season. Let's not outsmart ourselves.
Would you start Edmonds over Eckler? We're going to roll through all these, Byron, then get you out of here.
Well, it's a good reminder, Alan, that when you're using those flex values that come in, that's for your flex play. And when you look at Chark, like he's a starting wide receiver, it's not really a flex
every
play.
week. Every week.
Yeah. Would you start Edmonds over Eckler? Yes, I would. Thank you, James D.
John P. Morning, guys. Big Tebowski here. 5-2. Need 2 PPR from McCoy, Freeman, Montgomery, Pascal. Need 2 PPR.
Freeman and McCoy.
Eric Royo. What's up?
This guy's in my league, man. This guy's in my home league. He's a freaking killer, this guy.
Love it. We're gonna have to give him the inside scoop on you.
Team name is Stomp 'em into Nuts. Facing Al's wife this week. Ooh, be nice. Be nice. So no reverse swindle, Al. PPR needs a flex. Will Alec Erickson get those targets again, or will McKissick get good run versus the G-men? So Alex Erickson or McKissick here.
I can't answer. He's playing my wife.
Well, what a dirtball trying to instigate acrimony within the Lesky household. I'm going McKissick there, Eric. Thanks for joining, man.
Also has Pascal as an option. So still McKissick?
Yeah.
Standard League from Butterfinger 87, Frank Gore, Singletary, or Brandon Cooks?
Probably Cooks.
Now, Jennifer Sains says here from her question before and a half point PPR, Corey Davis was available, picked him up. Would you move Corey Davis in from the previous question where we had Edmonds move into the flex on her team?
Well, we certainly love the ladies of Roster Watch Nation. Thanks, Jennifer, for joining the sit start this morning and being a good member of Roster Watch Nation. We certainly appreciate it. We like Corey Davis this week, but I'm not getting him over at Chase Edmonds. But a good add to your bench for sure, right? Right now, looks
great add
to your bench. Yeah,
great add going forward.
Maybe a sell high after a big week this week, Jennifer. Wait for the trade cast next week. If we can get some value here out of Corey Davis 2 weeks in a row, we can look to maybe parlay that with one of those other guys on your team and help you improve your starting roster and also alleviate some of these headaches. You got so many good flex plays there. It's a tough deal every week to shuffle between those guys. So stay tuned for the Week 9 trade cast. Thank you for your support.
A conversation for another day, but I'd be interested to hear from you what you think Tennessee might do because they have the whole team there except the quarterback, and I'm curious if you think they're going to stay with Tannehill or just push all the chips in and go get one of those, Joe Burrow, one of those QBs. We could talk about it another day, but it's just something I'm really curious to pick your brain on.
Dude, you got to push it. It's interesting because John Robinson is from the Belichick school of personnel and general management. And so, we haven't seen, though, Belichick in a situation where he's had to consider taking a quarterback high. So I don't know, man. Just throw all that out the window. If you're any of these teams that are struggling at quarterback, you see how important that is to the future of your franchise, to being able to win. The good ones can come in and look like functional players pretty early. Yeah, to me, if you're the Tennessee Titans, you absolutely have to draft a quarterback early next year in the first round.
All right, Byron, 8 minutes left here. We're going to wrap this off. PPR flex, need 2. Chark, John Brown, Kittle, or Ertz?
Chark and Kittle.
Boom. See Mixon, Kirk, or Ronald Jones in the flex?
It's C.
I don't think can we start Christian Kirk yet? I just think
you need a show me game.
Ronald Jones and Joe Mixon, and I don't like those guys, but those aren't bad flex plays right there.
With Kirk, you're going to need a show me game.
Yeah.
So it's one of the two, Mixon or Jones.
Oh, it's one of the two. Probably Mixon then, right?
Agreed.
Mixon. Will Bulldog Boy need help PPR QB play today? Held on to Breeze through the thumb injury. Do we play Breeze or Brady? Brady. Standard League, Cooks or Kirk?
Cooks.
Kirk or Ridley? They traded Mohamed Sanu. Yes, Ridley. There you go. Juju or Kenny Stills?
I'm just going to go YOLO, Kenny Stills.
YOLO.
What a good call.
Okay. Flex 1 point PPR. Odell, Woods, or Breida? Just one. This is a harken back to our topic from before. If you have Odell, how can you not play him?
Because he's going to get triple covered right off the bus.
Still. I mean, Odell is even over triple coverage can still catch one for an 80-yard touchdown.
You're absolutely right. There's one of those slants. Take it to the house.
Slants to the house. Hard to cover. I mean,
boy, that's a tough one, man. Because the problem is that even if you remove Odell from the equation, I'm pretty torn on Woods versus Breida.
I mean, guns ahead.
The answer could be Robert Woods here in a PPR.
Yeah. Do we flex that? I think that's what we do. Let's flex Woods.
If you guys have spoken about it, Woods has been just as productive from a yards and catches as he was last year. Just the touchdowns haven't showed up yet. That's, you got to think that's going to happen at some point. And I don't want him to be sitting on my bench when it does, but there's no way I'm sitting Odell back.
It's a great matchup for Goff. Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go.
Eddie Elvier, Mike Williams or Hoyce Freeman?
Mike Williams.
Weather killing me. Start Kyler Murray or Josh Allen?
Ooh.
Kyler Murray.
Josh Allen with high wins or Tannehill?
Probably Tannehill.
That's question. That question sucks.
If you didn't say it, I was going to Tannehill. That's what
Ryan Tannehill.
Yes.
I love it.
Those Boston fans were so stoked about Ryan Tannehill and EJ Manuel. We're going to dominate the division for the next decade.
That was stuck in my head after the first time you said it. It was like
okay, let's get all these done. We're almost here. Ross Watch is the best. Thanks, fellas.
I think it was Geno Smith and Ryan Tannehill and EJ Manuel. It's going to be a cakewalk to 7 rings for Tom Brady.
You see, you're suffering. Tommy. You're suffering from the same tick I had after you said it for the first time. You just can't get it out of your brain.
Can't let it go. Yes. Thank you, John Ryan. Roster Watch is the best. Second in his league because of us, not us, Roster Watch Nation and the cheat sheet. Thank you. Cody Berg, Edmonds or Eckler. I think we had this one before.
Popular question.
But yeah, let's rock it again for people who just rolled in here.
Edmonds.
Yeah.
Edmonds, Jennifer Sains, thank you so much. We appreciate the ladies of Roster Watch Nation, as Byron always says. Thank you so much, Jennifer. T5G Media, should I play Tyrell Williams or Mike Williams now that Keenan Allen is in?
We just answered this one a little while ago. There's no prop on Tyrell, I don't think. We got the good prop on Mike Williams. It's tough. Should we just roll with it? Let's look at the matchup here, man. I got to look at the matchup.
The thought I had is that with a receiver like Tyrell Williams, he's not one of these guys that's just an auto play. You need a show me game first before you can put him back in your
3 minutes.
Who the hell are they going to throw it to, man, in this game? I think it's Tyrell Williams. I don't know. Who is it? Jonathan Joseph is out. And I hope whoever's listening, they're both good plays, so I think you're fine either way. Maybe the guy that listened before will make the pivot to Tyrell Williams the more I think about it.
Melvin Gordon, Preston Williams, or Alex Erickson?
That's just sick, man.
14 targets.
I think Alex Erickson, that's just
2.5 minutes.
That's too disgusting for the trash, man. I think you roll Melvin Gordon. I mean, part of me wants to say Preston Williams. I'm starting Preston Williams as a flex in one of my leagues. It's not a high upside deal, so you just got to go, I think, there with Melvin Gordon.
Brett B., Roster Watch Pro member. I love you so much, baby. Point PPR, Christian Kirk, Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, LaShawn McCoy.
Tyler Boyd,
John P., Superflex Dynasty. Would you trade O.J. Howard to get Kyle Allen? He would be my third QB behind Wilson and Baker Mayfield.
Is this a dynasty question, you think? Or you think
yes, it's Dynasty, Superflex Dynasty.
OJ's going to rebound, even if it's on another team. Kyle Allen may not even be the starter.
Yeah, it would be a buy so low. It would be a buy so low.
It's a reasonable question at this point, but I think I err on the side of caution. If I have to, I cultivate a third quarterback some other way.
Yep.
Steve Tags, PPR pick 2, Keenan Allen, Ty Johnson, Mohamed Sanu.
Ty Johnson for sure, and then
let's roll Sanu out.
Are you? Oh,
come on, no, come on.
Too many
Tom
guys.
Brady loves.
They're gonna put some kind of damn gadget play in for Sanu in the red zone.
He's the backup quarterback. He's the backup.
And he's going to pass for one.
How do you bench? I mean, I know Keenan Allen's limited. I can't do it, man.
No. Okay, Keenan Allen, Ty Johnson, full point PPR, need 2. Sutton, Edmonds, Chark, Boyd, Kirk, or Marvin Jones.
Nice lineup.
Edmonds and then either Sutton or Boyd. Okay, I think I'm going with Sutton, man. I trust Sutton more than Boyd.
Me too. Let's go Ridley, Scantling, or Mike Williams.
I know where he's going on this
Mike Williams.
Yes, I knew it. That's a good one. I love that.
Also have Julio and Godwin as my wide receivers. Who should I use as my flex? T.Y. Hilton or Mike Evans? We're almost out of here.
T.Y. Hilton.
And there it is. 12-team standard, Winston or Brissett. Roster Watch is the best. Thank you, guys.
Brisket.
You want your...
No, I'm just saying I love the wacky spellings. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Those guys are basically back-to-back. Let me check the rankings. Hold on here. I know you're trying to get out of here, Matt. Let me see here.
No, I am not. I just have something to tell you before we log off here, Byron.
I think we'll go with man, let's ship it in on Jameis Winston and a come from behind effort on the road at Tennessee.
And the upside's always there with him.
Kirk, Samuel, or Edmonds in the flex?
Edmonds.
0.5 PPR. Aaron Jones or Lat Murray?
Lat Murray.
Brett B, roster watch member. Tyler Boyd, DK Metcalf.
Ooh, I really like DK Metcalf this week, but that's shaping up as a game where Seattle's going to get out in front and just run the ball to close it out. So we'll go with, who was it, Boyd? Was it Boyd?
Yeah. Yep, Boyd with the prop on the Vegas player prop tools. 15-point prop.
And props to you, Matt, for getting through that in record time. That was awesome. When you saw you had like 4 minutes left, you literally knocked through all those, and
we're almost there.
Yeah, no, that was good.
Pick 2. These are the last 2, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Pick 2 PPR: Preston, Walton, Anthony Miller, Duke Williams, or Jonnu Smith.
Give me Preston Williams.
Okay.
Give me Preston Williams.
Is this going to be a Miami? A load up on Miami.
I think so. I think so. I mean, it could be. It's either Preston Williams and Anthony Miller, or Preston Williams and Mark Walton for me.
Okay, there you go.
I like Jonnu Smith, but I mean, that's a thin tight end play. His prop came in very slim.
Yep.
Last one here, Byron. Chase Edmonds or Tevin Coleman?
I think you take Chase Edmonds with the backfield all to himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on our Week 8 start sits. Follow Roster Watch at Roster Watch. Go get a pro membership at rosterwatch.com. Also, tune in weekly for Byron's Trade Cast, the waiver wire, the Trash Man's Grab, everything. Follow them at Roster Watch. Also, Alan Seslowski at ALAN-SES Low Sky Flex Network Friday nights Flex Finder. Byron, my last comment is I am playing your mom for first place in a listener league this week, and I will be sure to treat her like a sweet woman, and I will not. I'll be real nice to her. Okay?
You know, there's a conspiracy theory on Twitter that Byron's mom is really Byron with a wig, and it's really not Byron's mom.
Boy, she's got a hell of a team, but she sure does have a healthy respect for Trash Man Truther. He's got a monster squad. In the Cockamamie Business League, I'll tell you what, though, that we are always, it's a good idea to be kind to Byron's mom, and thank each and every one of you for your loyal support. We love being on the front lines for all of Roster Watch Nation, all of your fantasy teams year-round, and we wish all of you a fabulous Sunday.
And we will see you guys next week. Flexed!